Hello, everybody. Are we live?
Yes.
Can we see that? So I want to welcome Dr. Lebovitz within Pittsburgh. I want to welcome Francesca Francis, who is in London, UK. Neville Gant, who is also in UK. And myself, I'm welcoming you from Israel. I hope our neighbors will give us peace and we are not disturbed. I don't disturb you with the sound of the siren and the missile coming nearby us. Uh, so, uh, Today is a event. We have a live event with the Mental Wellness Society, and we will welcome Francesca Francis, who is the winner of the Member of the Month at the Mental Wellness Society. And next slide, please. So we'll speak about. I want to speak about the Mental Wellness Society. We have grown since Dr. Lebovitz and myself. By the way, I am Dr. Meyer, the CEO and co-founder of the Mental Wellness Society, and Dr. Lebovitz is my partner. We have created that a few years ago from an idea when start COVID that we will not be able to continue to manage our life the way it was. People will not travel and it will be a different change. We were under the truth of all what we were planning. But the Mental Wellness Society now have more than 523,000 active members, from which uh, members which are coming very often on the website are 125,000 on LinkedIn. We are growing at a rate of 5,000 members, new members every month, who are posting 2,500 posts, which are viewed by 2.7 thousand, 2,700,000 views every month. So LinkedIn is considering us as a unicorn. And this is what has kept us together. I met Neville on the Mental Wellness Society. Francesca is a new laureate of the monthly uh, lottery to select the member of the month. And actually, we have over 6,000 members in the Mental Wellness Society in UK. So I guess Neville Gant will announce us some good news today about Mental Wellness Society on UK. And with that said, I would like to present Dr. Lebovitz, who is in Pittsburgh. He is a Dr. Lebovitz is in Pittsburgh. He is a psychotherapist, and he is also very much involved in all our activities. Dr. Lebovitz.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer. Thank you. Very nice to meet everybody. I'm very glad to be here today. I'm looking forward to Francesca's presentation. For me, I work in Pittsburgh, and I'm a psychologist working with a diverse group of people. I've often been asked if I have a specialty, and my answer is yes. I work with adolescents of all ages. I have 15-year-old adolescents, and I have 45-year-old adolescents. And one of the things that I've come to learn is that cultural competence doesn't just involve ethnicity or gender, it also involves generation. And we have to be very, very mindful and very aware of the generation that we're working with at any given point in time. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing from Francesca, because this has real relevance to anyone working with this age group. And I look forward to hearing very informative commentary. Thank you so much, Francesca, for being
Thank
here.
you, Dr.
Thank
Lebovitz.
you.
Now I will introduce Neville Gant, and I want to thank Neville for showing. Maybe we can put on the screen that the Mental Wellness Society is featured is featured in HG0. Do you have that slide, Celeste? Voilà. So maybe Neville, you can explain a little bit about how you are involved with the Mental Wellness Society, on what you are doing in UK with the Mental Wellness Society, on the news of today, where Wellness Society is featured in SDG 0. Neville, you are muted.
I'll unmute myself. This is really exciting news for the Mental Wellness Society because they were proposed and nominated for a position, an elite position within the brand new Sustainable Development Goals digital directory. That's been launched in the UK. It's the first of its kind, and I'm delighted to see that the Mental Wellness Society was nominated and got through the board and being approved as a great, like a charity hero, or what we call a strategic partner, because there are a tremendous amount of tools within the Mental Wellness Society that we can share with lots more other people. So this is an open invite to all the 125,000 members to join in on SDG 0. It's a free site. You don't have to pay to list, just go in and enjoy the ride. And the second thing I'd like to say today is we're about to launch, and it's fitting that we've got this recognition on the SDG 0 site. We're about to launch the first chapter of the Mental Wellness Society, and that's going to be in the UK. We've got over 6,000 members in the UK, and now it's time to join in force and literally be a force for change. As we well know, one of the biggest problems in society is mental health, none least within the UK, where even to get an assessment is over 18 months, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I think we can accelerate that with all the tools the Mental Wellness Society has. So I'm delighted to say we're going to be launching this shortly. Please join us in that endeavour, and let's get the first chapter rolling.
Thank you. And now, the member of the month and the featured speaker, Francesca Francis. And Francesca is specialized in dealing with neurodivergent children. And she's also a writer on writing about psychology and social media on Generation Z. Francesca, please take it from here. Take it away.
Okay, so so I work with neurodivergent children. I have a background in counselling, and I'm currently pursuing a master's in child development at UCL. So my background is really a mix of working with younger children and then some older, teenagers. But what I'm really interested at the minute is my generation, actually, Gen Z. I find it really fascinating how online our generation is, because we've grown up with technology, but how much this plays a role actually in mental health. And I've wrote a couple of articles, reflective articles on different types of social media patterns that I've noticed, that I've come across myself. And I really like to basically analyze them and see where how young people are using social media as like an escape, and how as people we can help by having some awareness about that, how young people are using social media. I think it's such an important topic of today, and there's really no escaping the internet now. So I think it's more about educating young people on how to use the internet safely, and having some awareness about how social media is used for young people.
How do you come to dealing with neurodivergent children on Generation Z on media? What's the tie here?
Well, my work with children is in person. So I see, you know, I go into the school and I essentially provide counselling sessions. No, what's happened to my screen? There we go. Sorry, it just went funny. And then with my generation, that's more of a passion that I've developed from learning, like from being on social media myself, but also coming from my background. I think I see it different. I guess I see it a bit differently, because the background I hold is, you know, in psychology. That when I go on TikTok and I see different trends, I like to write about them because, you know, I can see the background of why they are a trend, if that makes sense. I hope that does make sense. So yeah, so it's really just become a passion for me to see how social media plays a role in young people's lives essentially, but also with young people that do come and see me, they are bringing their digital world with them as well. So it's not just Gen Z, it's actually starting from a very, very young age. And I think because it's starting so young, the awareness needs to be there from young. Because you know, you can have an 8-year-old and that they probably know more about social media trends than I do. And they're coming into the sessions with their online world rather than their, you know, their school world, which is very new to me actually. I didn't realize how prominent social media was until I became in this field.
Actually, we nowadays we see a lot of psychologies specialized in social media therapy because the people are becoming so much dependent of the social media that they have an addiction, and there is addiction. So there is psychotherapy for addiction people on virtual screen. But in your opinion, because you see neurodivergent children, in your opinion, do you think that the virtual tool are helping or not helping specifically the neurodivergent population? Is it an
Okay.
aggravating factor or is it a facilitating factor? I am interested to get your point of view because you are at the crossroad of both.
Yeah.
So, is it an aggravating factor? Is it a facilitating factor? For neurodivergent, we'll speak of after about Generation Z in general.
Okay. I think it plays. I mean, so for example, if I saw a child with ADHD, if they then go home and spend most of their time on their phone playing games, you know, on social media, I find that then a child in school may struggle with concentration, because they're used to their brain constantly having stimulation. So the moment they get bored, they find it very, very difficult to be bored. It becomes uncomfortable and the child may not know what to do with that boredom. So it's then they're not dealing with their emotions. So for example, if a child, I like to see it as like a thermometer almost. Like if a child has a really bad day at school, they say they're sitting on this level, and then it rises and it rises at school. So they're at this level and then they go home, but they're on their phone. That level kind of stays the same until the next day. And then they have this anger stored in them from the previous day because they haven't dealt with it. The phone kind of masks sometimes the emotion. They forget about it and then they carry on. Which can lead to teachers experiencing children lashing out more quickly, not being able to sit with their mind, with like feelings, you know, their mind, can become a problem. But on the other side of that, I do think screen time and having, because everything is, you know, online, I think taking a child away from that completely can have effects on them as well, because at that point then they are that, you know, they're dealing with their emotions and that, you know, they're in the world essentially. But I think social media, not social media in particular for young children, but having a phone, having technology can help in some way as well. It just is really about knowing what the child is doing on the phone is very important, and limiting, screen time is very important. Having boundaries, but I think I can see the two sides of the coin. Essentially, I can see how it can be a problem, but I can also see how it can help a child, especially with a child that may suffer with like speech. I've heard great things about children that have had speech problems that use their iPads, and I've seen some TikToks about children with autism learning how to communicate through the iPad, like find choosing words and communicating, which is great for their development, but also on the flip side, too much of it can cause. So yeah, I can really see both sides of technology.
So from your side, your side point of view, what is your recommendation of screen time for children per day? And do it's better to take a short time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour max, and then stop and eventually later? What is the optimal uh, screen time do you have in mind?
I think the main thing is that the child is not spending all, so soon as they come in from school, they're not on the phone consistently until bed, because then, like I said, that the child can then go to school with the same feelings, or may have feelings that they've not actually dealt with, rolled over to the next day. So I think it's really important to have time with a child after school. And in terms of screen time, I think before bed can be quite, an hour before. I mean, I've seen studies where people that go on their phone before bed, it is less likely to sleep because the phone, it plays on their minds. And obviously that for a child is going to be hard for them to go to sleep, and that's really important. So I think limiting the amount of,
Everybody, not just
yeah, of
children,
course, yeah,
everybody,
everybody,
everybody.
yeah.
But for the child, what's your time limit of screen time that you see or you preconize as you are preconizing as a therapist for children? What is the
Um,
screen time per day, in your
okay, so
opinion?
yeah, I think in my opinion, if I was to set the boundary with my child, I would have an hour a day on the phone. I wouldn't have any more of that. I think an hour is more than enough for a child. I think if it goes in 2 to 3 hours, that is quite a lot of time for a child, especially when they're spending their day at school. They might spend some time in the morning on their phone or on their tablet, but then after they may spend another hour, and I think that would probably be enough. And then the routine of having dinner and having some time with them. you know
Without without the screen, maybe. The
yeah,
dinner
yeah,
without
I
the
think
screen,
so.
maybe. Okay. So basically, you are talking about parental supervision. Because if they spend 1 hour, it means somebody have regulated them to spend an hour, maybe two. But when you go at three, they want to do 4 or 5 or 6 because they
Yeah.
become dependent of the screen. So that
Mm.
means no parental intervention. I have seen 2 days ago in a group of psychologists somebody who said, "How do I stop my child to spend the whole day on the phone?" Well, it's called parenting.
Mm.
And as we speak many times with Dr. Lebovitz, the screen has to be a privilege. And the
Yeah.
privilege can be given, and the privilege can be taken. And I think that's something we many times with Dr. Lebovitz, we speak about that with the parents of the kids visiting us. And I think it's very important. There is study, we are involved in research, and there is study which shows that the more time you spend on the screen, the more a part of the brain become numb.
Mm.
That part of the brain is a part of the brain for social interaction, which means that when there is a trauma, when there is stress, when there is a war, when there is this, there is that, PTSD or some type of difficulty, uh, what you need is to mingle and to develop social interaction to be able to get better and to become resilient. And you don't have that. So the people don't realize the invisible damage. We do a lot of brain map and we see a lot of damage by the screen. I'm not talking about porn addiction. I am not talking about violence addiction, which is another problem again, because that can give even some seizure. So I think there is a very negative way, and maybe I am sure Dr. Leibovitz have something to say about that. I can see. And after that, we'll come back about how those tools can be useful or how it could be, we can manage that tool does not completely destroy the society, knowing that TikTok, TikTok it's Chinese and it's forbidden in China. Why is it forbidden in China? Because it's a pollution of the brain, of the mind, and they don't want it in their country. They want to pollute the rest of the world. So it's very interesting to know that it's a very serious topic, and we have a lot of science. It's the only topic I know where all the scientists are in agreement, and all the psychologists are in agreement with the scientists. There is no discordance here. So that's a real societal problem. Dr. Leibovitz.
I just want to make one observation, if I could. I use language very precisely. And one of the common problems that we encounter is the fact that this device is referred to as a phone. We have our iPhones, we have other phones. In point of fact, it is not a phone. In point of fact, it is a handheld computer, which has one function that can be used as a phone, but it is probably the smallest function that it's used for, and it's used for all sorts of other activities, and yet we call it a phone. And I'm sure the reason why it's called a phone is because it's so inoffensive to call it a phone. If you were to call it for what it is, if you were to say, honey, is he on his handheld computer again? That might have a stronger response, a stronger reaction. But people need to know, parents especially need to know, this is not a phone. This is a handheld computer with all the access to the internet that your laptop, that your tabletop computer, all of those devices have. This is no different than that. And you are opening the door for your child to engage in all of the activities that under other circumstances you probably would monitor. So that's something very, very valuable to recognize.
Yeah. Also, if when you enter the room, your child is shutting off the screen or putting up close to him, you know that something is fishy there, and that's something which needs to be addressed. Okay, go on.
I'm so sorry, Dr. Robert. I couldn't hear you when you were speaking. I don't know if it's just me that I couldn't hear. I just couldn't hear.
I could hear.
I can't hear when he. I can't hear now either.
Can you hear me now?
We hear him very fine. What about you, Neville?
Yeah, I can hear perfectly well.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't hear Neville either. I don't know if it's
All right.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I just can't hear Neville or Dr. Robert.
Okay. But
Never
we can
seen that
hear you. So that's new.
You might just have to translate.
We can hear you. So you talk.
Yes.
So let's talk about the Generation Z a little bit. And I think when we spoke together, you explained me that they explain how they brush their teeth, how they cook, how they get dressed, and when they get in a room, they cannot talk to each other. Am I paraphrasing you correctly?
Yeah, I mean, that was essentially what I said. Yeah, I basically explained how my generation are very good at posting videos and sharing with the online, but then when it comes to in person, a lot of people that I know personally and a lot of people that I've watched are really struggling with in-person interactions, which I've seen more heavily on my type of generation. And I think that is because with the online, it doesn't feel as personal. It doesn't. It's kind of like you can hide behind the screen. But then in person, I think as well, where people are so used to talking to, the camera and the phone, that when it's in person, it's completely different. Um, which essentially makes it really hard for our generation to talk, in person.
Yeah, it's true, because many times when we speak with somebody, they don't listen to you. They want you to listen to them. So when
Mm,
you use that medium, it's perfect. You can say what you have to say, and the other one have to
mm,
absorb. So it's the best one-way type of communication. But it's also what I told you earlier. The more you are on the screen, the more the social part of your brain become numb. And that's why they have a problem as well to communicate. So it's not just, I would say, nurture, a situation of nurture where they learn that type of behavior, is that biologically, they are not, it diminish the capability to mingle and to socialize with people. So I think that's also a fact. I would like to show Celeste. Can we show the page about the icon of Evoke? Evoke icon? Okay, thank you. So I work with different people who are neurodivergent, and we have seen, have experienced that using the icon that we have, and we have a collection of icons, it's the whole metacognitive method is in cards, because we have found that communicating with neurodivergent with card, for example, this is destination card, it helps them to focus,
mm,
because many neurodivergent people are like a computer with too many windows open, and it makes them dizzy. So they don't know which one. They don't cannot look at something and think about something else. They also question, what do you mean by what you say? Because their ability to communicate or to understand other people is not obvious. So I worked with one of our clients who had a very bad condition. On the card, she explained me that the card, and she has been for many years in therapy with other people, and she explained that the card were helping us to focus and to really understand how to deal with the situation.
mm,
And I have found that I have some people who are neurodivergent, and I have found that it the fact they are neurodivergent, particularly we'll speak about the people who are autistic, or the people who are on the autistic part of the spectrum. It's, I think, it's my personal theory, that they have a stigma. They have acquired a stigma because they are different than other people. They behave differently. Many neurodivergent have a tic and have some type of natural tic. And I think they all feel, when the people are looking at them, intimidated, or they misread the facial expression. And I have found that all of them, year after year after year, they of miscommunication, of difficulty to communicate, of difficulty to express themselves, difficulty even more to understand what the other person say, because it's like speaking two different language. It
mm,
does not come the same way to them. I have found that with the icon, we remove the stigma of the communication, of miscommunication. And by removing the stigma of miscommunication, they do much better. So I am not with them, I'm not trying to change them. They are neurodivergent. You are neurodivergent. You are still neurodivergent, but you can learn to operate in a better way. And I think this is an interesting concept or things I see with many clients. The fact we help them to accept themselves. I have one client in mind where I am going to work with a mother because actually the mother has expectations for the son which are not what the son can do. And the mother have a lot of resentment, of many years of frustration. And she eventually shows that frustration on the face because we can see on the face of people what they feel, what they think. So I found that the communication with the card helped, and I found that it's very important to help neurodivergent people to accept themselves and to say you are neurodivergent, but we can help you to improve your software to better operate your hardware. Your hardware is like it is, but it can operate better if we show you how you can be at the best of your operation for yourself. And that gives them confidence. And that gives them confidence and slowly to tell them, you can decide, choose, choose by yourself, make a choice. And if that choice is good, good. If that choice is not good, okay. I have been shocked because there is a question I ask many people, what is a good choice? What is a bad choice? 95% of the people say a good choice is what makes me feel good, and a bad choice is what makes me feel bad, which is very emotional, and it's not something which help to be, I would say, well functional. On this client who is neurodivergent, I say, what is a good choice and a bad choice after the third session? He told me, well, I guess a bad choice is what is not good for you, and a good choice is what is good for you. And I was amazed because I did not expect that from that client. And so that shows that the neurodivergent people are, I see several of them, are extremely intelligent. They can do things and see things other people don't. And this is where we need to help them to become to their own themselves, but to operate without the anxiety of, am I doing right? Am I doing wrong? What the people think about that? Maybe you can speak about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I introduced a method of bringing in peg dolls to the sessions where they don't have a face. So these are blank dolls into the session, so the children can then put in their own emotions to the doll. So they can put in how they think the doll feels. They can put sad. They can put happy. Because I found what was happening is if I brought a doll in with a smiley face, for example, they would then they would latch onto that emotion. Does that make sense? So they would say, "Oh, I'm feeling happy," but deep down they had something they wanted to bring that wasn't so happy. So I removed the face, the emotion, and brought in these peg dolls, and it worked really well for neurodivergent children. They are just blank slates, and I think the most important resources with neurodivergent children is very simple resources, because the imagination and their feelings go onto the resources that you bring, which can be very useful in understanding their language and what their world essentially. So I think that worked really well. But that's basically what I was going to
So we
say.
need to accept them like they are and make them
Yeah.
express the real them, because what we see is not the real them. They try to not disturb, or they try to not uh, make to be disturbing for the other people around,
Mm.
because they are used to be looked in a different way. And when you accept them, I see that when they feel in confidence, they feel that you don't judge them. You
Mm,
feel that you help them. You are not there
mm,
to judge. You don't tell them what to do. You give them a choice. You can do this or you can do that. And
mm,
I have found that teaching them a binaural choice, which is a method we developed with Dr. Lebovitz, we have great results because we remove the uncertainty on all the other possibilities, and it is yes or it is no, it is a green door, it is a red door. You want to say some word about that, Dr. Lebovitz?
You said it best. And the you can identify choice based on what it is you're trying to achieve. A good choice becomes whatever makes it easier for me to get there, and a bad choice is whatever makes it harder for me to get there. So choices become much clearer when you have clarity in terms of the destination you want to reach.
So we have found recently that the giving a sense of agency to all our client, patient, or people we see is the best way to get them out of the psychological issues they have or even trauma because they are apprehensive of making a choice. They are in external locus of control. Everything happened to me. I cannot choose. I cannot decide. I cannot do this. And when we give them agency, meaning I see a choice and I do it, that's the important two step. I see and I can do. It gives them automatically confidence in themselves, and then they become to get slowly by slowly. It's a little seed, but it can grow very big. It develop internal locus of control. And I have seen that when the autistic and neurodivergent people have that feeling, it's very important because you were speaking about PTSD, which is also on the spectrum, ADHD. Many ADHD people look strong, they give the impression to know everything, to be the big dog in the room, but inside their head, they feel they have a lot of doubt, a lot of self doubt, and they know that they are not the image they give. So when we give them, so they are not sure, they give an impression which is outside. But when we tell them, hey, you choose, you decide, and we give them the key of using agency, immediately it opens a very big area for them. Little choice, particularly with neurodivergent. You give a neurodivergent a little choice he can do. One of my clients, when you tell him, I say, you look much better on the screen. I guess. You more happy? Well, I guess yes. I sleep a little bit. I sleep better, and I guess yeah, I
mm,
guess. So now we need to work on I guess because you need to be more binary. You don't guess. You like it or you
mm,
don't. You want it or you don't.
You don't.
And
mm.
when we give them that binary, the agency to choose in a binary way, I have found that they progress very, very quick. Have you seen that too?
Yes, I think that's a
No,
very
I
good way to
haven't.
put
No,
it.
I haven't seen that.
We'll, we'll explain you more about our method one day. We hope to see our method to come to UK. Let's speak now about Generation Z. Dr. Lebovitz was at a conference in Chicago and he was presenting about Generation Z. I share that document with you, Francesca,
Yep.
and with Neville. Maybe you can say a few words about what you presented in Chicago, Dr. Lebovitz,
Yes.
and get the reaction of our colleague to tell us what they think.
I specifically talked about cultural competence in identifying differences between baby boomers, as a psychologist working with baby boomers, versus working with millennials and Gen Z. And among the differences that was noted had to do with boundaries. Okay. Francesca, can you hear me at all? I don't think so. Okay. I'm sorry about that. One of the differences that I identified was the differences in boundaries, that baby boomers are more likely to accept and abide by boundaries, whereas Gen Zers live their lives in the public sphere so much that they don't expect boundaries. And not only don't they expect it, but they experience boundaries as actual refusals and rejections. So, for example, you get an email, or you get a text message, or a message, Snapchat, whatever message, and you decide, I've got something, I'm in the middle of something right now, I'll respond in 10 minutes. Okay. A baby boomer that'll happen, and you'll probably move on, whatever. If you are a Gen Zer and you send out a text or you send out a message in some fashion and you don't get a response within the next 90 seconds, you feel devastated. This person is ghosting me. This person is rejecting me, because their sense of boundaries is so different. And I'm just using that as a representation of how different their cultural experience and their expectations in life are. And we have to be very cognizant when we impose, and it is a position, when we impose the requirements on them that they are not yet equipped to respond to. Gen Zers also happen to be lacking in resilience. And this is something that Dr. Meyer and I have been working on quite a lot in the last year or so. The nature of resilience and how important resilience is. And Gen Zers seem to be fairly, how shall I put it, lacking in the ability to bounce back from adversity. And so they experience it much more intensely, and we have to be cognizant of the fact that it is what they are going through. It's not simply their, how shall I say, thin skin. No, they experience it much more intensely than we do. And so this is just a couple of the differences, but I'm very keen on hearing what Francesca has to say, because that's really what brought me here. So can we turn it over to Francesca and ask her what
Francesca, your turn to speak a little bit about the difference of the different generation. What difference do you see in between the generation? I think we spoke together about the, if not defiance, the suspicion between different generation. The older people don't necessarily trust the younger people, and the younger people don't trust too much the older people. I think if you can spot about some difference in the generation for us.
Yeah, I think my generation have grown up where technology has evolved to the point it is today. And I do think a lot of young people are starting to form identities on social media rather than in person. So, for example, a young person might really care more about, following, for example. So on social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok is becoming increasingly popular. So people think that's their, their identity almost. And like certain things like getting a certain amount of Instagram likes has become increasingly popular. So in terms of the differences I see is that our generation are more fixated on the online world, identity online. So that could be in terms of, seeing a certain amount of people following you, reflecting self-esteem. And I think that wasn't a thing for previous generations. I think that's a new thing that is starting to, that has been about since the use of social media platforms. I've also noticed young children especially, posting themselves on social media for a certain amount of likes and, for validation. I think young people do use social media as a form of validation. So, trying to reach a certain goal on, a following count, certain amount of likes. So yeah, I really see that shift in like identity from previous till now is a massive shift in, how people see their self essentially.
So what do they expect to see? What is the image? What is the persona that
Hmm.
they appreciate and they like to see on social media?
I think, I
The
can't say.
avatar, the avatar of the person, let's say.
So I think for young people, it's about being seen as, popular essentially. So if you've got a young person that may be struggling in their life with, self-esteem, they then make an account on Instagram, and then from that, if they get a certain amount of followers, say like 1,000 followers, that then impacts their self-esteem. So they might start to feel a bit better about themselves, saying like, I've got all these followers. So I think I think social media can reflect a person, where they're struggling. I think you can tell, if it, if do you understand what I'm saying?
But
Uh,
isn't it a double life? There is a
yeah.
life they have on the screen, and there is a life of who they really are, and the two might not have in too much point in common.
Yeah.
It's 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 a little bit dysfunctional having
Mm,
two different persona which have not much in common.
mm.
So, um, and do you see Generation Z client coming to see you as client? What do they complain when they come to see you? They say, I want help for this or for that. What is their major complaint? What are their major
Really,
complaints?
yeah, I think really interestingly, I think, well, what I've seen, a lot of my generation don't come to therapy. I've seen a lot online, actually, on TikTok especially, of like essentially being like, oh, I'd never see a therapist. In the comments would say like, oh, that's something would happen in therapy, and the comment would say, this is why I don't see a therapist. I think that is upcoming with our generation of not actually necessarily trusting a therapist. I think, yeah, I do see a
More
lot of
coach,
people.
maybe? More coach than a therapist? Going more to see a coach than a therapist, maybe?
Yeah, but potentially, but I do see a lot of like acting, pretending to be therapists online, like TikTok, and being,
TikTok
it's not.
therapy. You found a good
Yeah,
one. TikTok
yeah,
therapy. That's a good one.
yeah, and just really not really understanding what therapy is essentially about. I see a lot of role play of young people pretending, like Gen Z being a therapist. It's almost like a mock of, of essentially the job. This is why I couldn't be a therapist. All young people saying, like making comments about therapists essentially. But I have seen young people come in about online identity, and I do see it still. I see both worlds. I see the online, type playing, pretending to be therapists, and then I see people coming to me that are young and experience. I think a lot in our day and age of young
So,
people. Oh, go on. Yeah, sorry.
so as therapists, we try to help people to live more
Mm,
happier, and we try to help them to have a more fulfilling life, to achieve their goal in life.
mm,
But what you are telling me, if I have to advertise for Generation Z, which I will not do, if I had to advertise for Generation Z, I should say, as a psychologist, I will help you to get much more likes. Because if I help them to get more likes, then I will be in business, right? It's
yeah,
a
I
joke.
think.
It's a joke.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I think also we spoke many times of the difference in generation. that the Generation Z is getting married much older. They stay much longer with the parents. They are less, we found in studies, they are less committing themselves. They are less committing on different things. And actually, they married later, and they don't buy as young as before a house. Maybe Dr. Lebovitz, you have some senses about that.
I've looked at some interesting data on not so much marriage rates, so that the rates have declined dramatically too, but the age at which people get married. And there seems to be a negative correlation between the age at which people get married and home ownership. So, for example, in the 50s and the 60s, the average age of marriage for males would be about 21, 22, and for females, about 19, 20. In most recently in 24, 25, the data shows that the average age of getting married is for males is about 30, 31, and for females is about 28, 29. Now, most people don't start saving for things like a house for long-term sort of commitments until they get married. So the consequence of that is that back when people were starting to save for homes about 10 years earlier than they do now. And that's one of the reasons why, that's just one of the reasons, I'm not saying it's the reason, but it's one of the reasons why home ownership among under 30s today is about 13%, whereas in the 60s and the 70s is closer to 35%. So there really is a shift in culture in so many different ways because of the delay in developing certain, future-oriented goals.
Mm-hmm. I have to say also that I have many friends online who are strongly neurodivergent and extremely successful. And I have found a lot of people who are extremely successful online, and they are very deeply neurodivergent, meaning that when they are online, they can give an impression, they can do something, and when the camera stop, uh, it's a different story for them. But they can focus their energy, their attention, their intelligence, because they are very intelligent. They can use their intelligence because they see more the detail. They are detail oriented. And I have found that there is a lot of neurodivergent people who are extremely successful online. And that's also something. Neville, before we stop, you have any thought or anything which come to your mind?
Well,
Because
I was doing,
you have been an educator also.
yeah, such an educator, yeah. Um, I remember something that a good friend of mine, Sir Ken Robinson, said once. There's a reason why Instagram is called Insta, and it's the instant gratification. And the funny thing is, I tried to get him to do a TED talk on it, but he never would. I wish he had, because it probably would explain an awful lot why millennials and Gen Zs, you can be American if you like. I'm British, so it's a Z, not a Z. Thank you, Dr. Lebovitz, for laughing. Um, but it's a reason why we've created a bit of a monster of this instant gratification, and the internet doesn't help. It accentuates it, and that's why we have lots of influencers that have very little substance, but they're very good at influencing. And
True.
they are proliferate on Facebook and Instagram. And unfortunately, and it comes back to this word resilience that the three older gentlemen here have built a career on, probably, is that our younger generations have very, very little resilience. If they see it on the TV, they believe it. If they see it in a book, they believe it. If they see it online, they believe it. There's no thought of, let me test that. Let me ask someone who might know. it's that instant. Okay, well, if it's written down and it's on someone's website, it must be right. Whereas I
True.
think the older generations have never been in that arena anyway. I mean, I grew up with the Encyclopedia Britannica. We couldn't afford it at home, and we had to go to the local library. That's a massive difference between this personal computer, as Dr. Robert quite openly says. It's not a smartphone. It's not a phone. It's a personal computer. It's got more power, and I'm looking on one. Right. This has got more power than an IBM 80, an IBM XT, and a Wang dumb terminal that I had when I went into business in the 1980s. There's far more power at our fingertips than we ever really could have dreamt of. And I think the sad thing, really, is that we're not using it. We're not using it for the benefit of mankind, for people, for our families. And I noticed you said something about how much phone time should be reasonable. It's a little bit, to me, it's a bit like an open book, really. How much is necessary? How much is valuable? And it's all about that value time. So for one individual, 5 minutes actually could be enough. For another one, they probably need a bit longer. So whether it's the touch point of screen time, or whether it's the interaction within people, then I think we've got to get that balance right. If we don't get that balance right, in 5 years' time, there won't be schools. Everything will be online. Now that's heresy, okay? I can't believe anyone's going to agree with that, but that's where we're going. It's all going to be online. What's the point of going to school? And we've already experienced that during COVID, because we weren't allowed to go to school.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
Actually,
we've got to be a little careful to balance it.
Yeah, actually, in our work with Dr. Leibovitz, we teach people delayed gratification. Actually, we have a card for delayed gratification. And delayed gratification is to be able to control your impulse, not immediate gratification, which is in fact a mammalian response, which is an automatic response, which is not a cognitive response, which is a lot of decision in a day for human. And since you have the screen, you have even less. And what we need to train people is delayed gratification. And that correlate with the sense of agency, because you choose to delay. And if you choose to delay, you are in control in your life, and you are in internal locus of control. Francesca, you want to say a closing word, and then I will let Dr. Leibovitz to close.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for everyone that is, watching, and that is part of the Mental Wellness Society. I think it's a great group to be a part of. And thank you for, to Dr. Maya for, allowing me to do this and giving the opportunity to professionals in the group to essentially have a voice, which is, a really positive thing. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And we are counting on you too to get active in our UK chapter of the Mental Wellness Society. Dr. Leibovitz, I let you do the closing words.
Thanks. I want to echo Francesca's remarks. Thank everyone for coming. I hope this was informative. I hope you found this worthwhile for your work, for your practices. We encourage all of you to post and to comment and to get more involved in the Mental Wellness Society and to share with us what you might like to see us do to benefit you personally from the Mental Wellness Society. So all comments and the information is very, very, thoroughly encouraged, and we look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So we'll hopefully we'll get also a contact for the Mental Wellness Society. We try to grow with people who are like-minded than we are, We are looking to make people to have a better life around us, to be more happy of life. Despite condition, you can be confronted to missile coming, you can be confronted to difficulties, but it's when you need to know that the value of your life have nothing to do with the screen time. It has to do with the relation you develop, about the pleasure to have your friend to say, how are you doing? I see that there is bad news in your area. Well, that is really something important. And to me, I guess when I receive that, it's certainly the type of feeling that the Generation Z receive with many like. one, how are you doing is more important than 1,000 likes. So, okay. Thank you, Dr. Lebovitz. Thank you, Neville. Thank you, Francesca. We cannot wait to work with you and make this UK chapter a very strong and efficient chapter and to spread the word in UK. Thank you so much. And see you soon. Be well. Bye-bye.